The Forgotten Realms are home to many a strange and fearsome creature. Here, we aim to discuss them all. Go not blindly into the unknown, adventurer. Join us in browsing the bestiary.
And welcome back to Browsing the Bestiary,
Welcome
a
back.
podcast that takes an in-depth look at all of those creatures that put the monster in Monster Manual, the beast in Bestiary, and of course, the dragons in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Dungeon Mistress Jayde.
And this is Lore Master Andy. This is Triple. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. To the third, I can't believe this stretched out into 3 parts, but
Oh my gosh, yeah.
my God, is there a lot of information out there? And we are needlessly extra for you, dear listeners. So this is the third and final part of our Why Are They Hot Centaur episode. Thank goodness in some ways. In some ways, I'm also a little sad to see it go.
A little sad, but I am excited to get into our next creature, which, I'm excited, but Andy is doubly excited.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps talking about the lore behind this creature. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. I'm really earning like the moniker of Lore Master Andy. I'm just like, oh, and then this thing, and look at this and this thing, and Jay's just like,
I'm like, I haven't got there yet. I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm reading other stuff. I'm like, but have you read this stuff? Yeah, it's good. We're cooking something good for all of you, you guys, you gals, and you NBs out there. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, and speaking of excited, we know that you all have been eagerly waiting for the scenario at the end of this episode,
Mm-hmm.
and we are right there with you. Okay, like we said, we didn't think that this episode was going to be so long. But before that, we just have a little more lore to get through, starting with 5e and coming all the way to the present. Like we said, we got our hands on the 2025 Monster Manual.
It thick.
And it is interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll get there. You'll
Yeah.
I won't say anything else. Yeah.
So finally, after all that lore, just get ready for a longer scenario where a certain halfling gets her time in the spotlight.
I will say 5th edition centaurs are not that.
Yeah. Tell us about 5th edition, because there's something.
They're like, okay. So in 5th edition, centaurs appear in the 2014 Monster Manual. They're a standard staple monster, so it makes sense that they appear in the first supplement for that edition. They are still considered large-sized creatures. Makes sense. We learned about how big and heavy they can be in 3rd edition. Totally makes sense. But in this edition, they took back the centaur's face status, and now they're back to being categorized as monstrosities, which I thought was interesting. Yeah. Especially because, we'll get to their appearance in a second, but like they definitely still look more fey than they look monstrous, at least if we're talking about like the Sylvan centaurs. So, whatever on that front. But they clock in at a CR2, have an AC of 12, and an average HP of 45, which if you want to go with the max, they have 72 max HP and a movement speed of 50 feet. So, pretty, I'd say, appropriate for a CR2 monster. Nothing special, but like, not terrible.
Yeah, standard.
Yeah,
standard stuff.
Very standard. They can make 2 attacks per turn, either one with their pike, which does 1d10 plus 4 piercing damage, and then one with their hooves for 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they kick hard in this edition. Granted, without any crazy thunder damage riders. They can also, as ranged... Yeah, too bad. But they can also act as ranged combatants and make 2 attacks with their longbow for 1d8 plus 2 piercing each. So from the get-go, these are flexible fighting creatures, which I do appreciate.
Surprising they're only CR2. Those attacks seem pretty high damage to me.
Yeah, which we have to think about, like, the party's only facing one, right? If if they're second level, it's when you start to
Fair.
put a bunch of these together that they start to get real dangerous real quick. Now they keep,
Fair.
they keep their charge ability from previous editions, which this allows a centaur to deal an extra 3d6 piercing damage with its pike attack, if it moves 30 feet in a straight line before it makes an attack. So that's nasty.
Yeah, I feel like the charge ability in 5th edition really got as you say, streamlined. Because you can only do it in a certain direction.
Yeah, which that's kind of your opening salvo. Your hello party, nice to meet you. Whoa, bam! All this damage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it adds more kind of shock and awe to centaurs, which I like that. Now, I will say these guys have a pretty impressive strength score for a relatively low level monster, because CR2 is, as we said, nothing crazy. Yet they have a strength score of 18.
Oh Lord.
They also get a +6 to athletics checks. So yeah, they're a
That
pretty
makes sense.
yeah. You have horse and heavily muscled person together at the same time. So they're a pretty solid slab of muscles and hooves. Which, speaking of a slab of muscles and hooves, Jayde, Jayde, what do we got going on here?
Once again, Andy, for some reason, everything else is the same. The horse is the same. The torso is the same. But the human or the face of the centaur is wrong.
Yeah.
This time, 5th edition's like, all right, we don't like how we're smushing in the nose, so let's just smush it all the way in so it doesn't have a nose.
It's like, I
It's
feel
got
like
Lord Voldemort face for sure.
yeah, exactly. It's like, what if Voldemort but centaur? Centaur Voldemort.
What Voldemort but hot?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the face is not great, which, in my opinion, I think that's them trying to go for the more like monstrous nature of the centaur. But also in this artwork, they have like, the like side shaved head and like silver, hair draping over the one side. I'm like, well, that's just fey, okay? Why didn't we just keep them fey and just make them a little prettier?
I really don't understand why they did that, and just the face, Angie.
Yeah, the face is bad. If we once again, like I said, with 3rd edition, if we were just going from neck down, it would be like a solid 9. But because of that
Yes.
face, I've got to give it a 5.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, I would say a 4,
A 4.
maybe a 3. Just I can't with the face.
You're like, oh, could you put ye old sack over thine face? Ah, much better.
Much better.
Oh.
Now I'm picturing him as like a himbo kind of.
Yeah. It's like,
Tell him to
just
put a sack on his face. He's like, oh, okay.
can you just look the other way and recite the ancient poems while you play the lyre? Ah, perfect. Now,
Uh,
God damn it. The lore in this edition stays in line with the standard, of centaurs being hunter-gatherers and wanderers who live as one with nature. Great. We've established that. Glad we're, rehashing that. I will say, though, 5th edition places more emphasis on them being nomads who roam great distances. The passage states that, quote, centaur migrations span continents and take decades to repeat, so that a centaur tribe might not retread the same path for generations. I thought that was pretty cool. Going on in the passage, these long-ranging patterns can lead to conflict when centaurs encounter settlements of other creatures built along their traditional routes, end quote.
yeah, I feel like I really like this change. It kind of gives more depth to the centaurs migrating
Mm-hmm.
and just saying how big the Forgotten Realms is.
Yeah.
And I feel like as well this is kind of begging DMs to add an encounter where their players maybe act as a parlay between a band of angry centaurs and a newly built village of farmers. who are just in the centaur's path, and they're just bewildered because a heavily armed horseman is like yelling at them in Sylvan.
They're like, we don't know what's going on. They keep yelling. They're waving their bows at us. We tried giving them food and they just like knocked it out of our hands. We're very concerned.
You would think though, if centaurs like know they're gonna be gone for so long, that would be like, okay, like there's new things in the road, but they just expect it to be the same.
Yeah. Yes. They're like, actually, change is bad, you see.
It really makes me wonder how old the centaurs get in fifth edition, because I
Yeah.
don't think it says.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it is. Other editions establish they don't live very long, but I think if their treks span decades, like either the information is getting lost as soon as the last generation dies from the last trek, or they just are so old and like they've just traveled so long that they forget what happened. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and so this is actually this is kind of touched on a little bit, even though there isn't an exact age statement. This is kind of touched on a little bit in the lore passage, which states that centaurs that grow too old or too frail to keep up with the herd are left behind.
No.
Yeah. While many such centaurs disappear into the wilds to die quietly, others find their ways to settlements of other races, which I thought was interesting. You know, the the fifth edition lore, you know, it updates a little bit. You know, centaurs obviously still enjoy trading with elves, but it says they'll also engage with kind-hearted humanoids that they encounter during their travels, and that seems to extend to if the centaur has been abandoned. And nice humanoids come along, are like, oh, hey, buddy. You need a house?
Hey, buddy.
You need a place to live? Like, this centaur's here with like a mangled leg, like, yes,
Aww.
God.
That makes me so sad.
Yeah. Which on a lighter note, even though it's sad they get left behind, on a lighter note, the centaurs that do get taken to settlements of other races to continue to live out their days, it says that they are often regarded with much respect, as their knowledge of the surrounding areas, travel routes, and nature in general prove invaluable to the health of the settlement, especially frontier settlements, because the centaurs have been dealing with everything outside of this settlement for a lot longer than the denizens of the settlement have been there. So it's sad, but like there's some silver linings in there. Which I think this really has some potential with this update of the lore to give some interesting kind of an interesting role to the DM when adding in these kinds of NPCs. Obviously there's a reason that the centaur was left behind in the settlement. But maybe it's sad because they couldn't keep up with the herd, or maybe they're relieved because they're no longer a burden that their tribe couldn't carry, or maybe they're happy that they have a new tribe. It's an adopted one, right? And they don't have four hooves, and maybe they're kind of stupid about some nature stuff, but they have this expertise that they can use to lend a hand. So I really like in fifth edition. I think does this a lot, where they kind of sprinkle in some new things for DMs to kind of work with, assuming you read the lore passages.
Read the lore passages.
Yes.
Or we'll read them for you, and then we can just tell you about them.
That's right. And if you like that, you can pay us on Patreon. Shameless plug. Moving on. So now the first official option for a centaur player character appears in the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, which was published in 2018. Ravnica, like Greyhawk and Dragonlance, is a separate world that was actually originally created for the card game Magic the Gathering. Yeah, all the
Lots
magic
of crossover.
That's yeah, exactly. Wizards is like, how can we intertwine our IPs? Ooh, give us more money, gamers. TM. Was that joke we made in the last episode? They're gonna send Pinkertons to kill us? No, that was Disney. Never mind. Wizards.
Someone's gonna send the Pinkertons.
That's right. Yes, Wizards, please don't send the Pinkertons to kill us. So now the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica campaign was originally adapted from a series of free PDF releases called Plane Shift. which were created by a longtime Wizards employee by the name of James Wyatt. Ravnica especially got such praise that Wizards decided to adapt this short PDF into a larger campaign, which is super cool. The world of Ravnica itself is a high magic Slavic-inspired society that takes place in a single city that spans the entire planet. So basically think like...
Super cool. Like Treasure Planet, kind of.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
Treasure Planet, or for the Star Wars heads out there, think like Coruscant, but like high fantasy instead of sci-fi.
Mm, very
Now...
true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Now, fractions of the city are controlled by 10 different guilds with opposing ideologies. Of course, we can't get along. So in the Guildmaster's Guide, we are introduced to centaurs as humanoids who enjoy wide open spaces, but especially so because they are so rare in this sprawling, world-sized city.
Mhm.
Now, Ravnica centaurs are said to be smaller than Forgotten Realms centaurs, standing only up to 4 feet tall at the withers. Now, granted, the withers is like the top of the horse half, right? So there's a whole
Yeah.
human half above this. So before you're like, oh, they're cute little ponies. No, they're not.
No.
They're just not 7 feet tall. Now, these centaurs still have Fey ancestry and have pointed ears like elves, but their ears are shorter and their faces are squarer than elves. They definitely look more humanoid,
Yeah.
which we like that. Because as we'll talk about here in a second, 5th edition doesn't necessarily stay with that. Now, their skin and the hair on the horse half range in all colorations. With their horse halves, in addition to having, a variety of different hair colorations, also have different pattern colorations. And the passage states that sometimes they even sport zebra stripes, which very cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, Jayde.
Which,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
we just got well, I was just gonna jump in to probably what you were saying about the image.
Yeah.
For the Ravnica centaurs.
Yeah.
Oh boy, she is hot.
She's hot. She is hot.
Let me tell you, she is hot.
like forget like I'm looking respectfully. I am looking fearfully, but also respectfully, because like Jayde, just describe what this
She's just so cool. So she's a darker skinned centaur woman
love
who
that.
has like a red mohawk. And she has like this cool like staff, quarterstaff with just bones hanging off of
Yeah, and like specifically they look like talons or teeth. Like
yes.
Yeah.
And her top and her barding also has those bones on them. And she just looks badass. And I'm like, the face is nice. No smush nose. I'm like, this is how we do it, Fithy. This is how we do it.
Yeah, it's in like she has like earrings made of skulls. It's giving like and I doubt this was the intent, but it's giving kind of like Monster Hunter vibes where it's like, well, I took all the things I killed
Yeah.
and I made it my clothing. What did you do? Yeah, it's super cool. Love that.
10 out of 10. Oh, I
easy
didn't
10.
even notice her horse half has like tattoos.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
maybe that's like shaved in patterns. I don't know, but those are so cool.
Yeah, and that goes back to that kind of, variety of like hair patterns and stuff like that. Yeah, it's so great. Well done. Whoever did that artwork, 10 out of 10, fantastic.
10 out of 10.
You deserve more money than what you were paid for that.
Yes.
Now, centaurs in Ravnica usually favor the guilds. I'm going to try to pronounce this correctly. Gruul, I think.
I think it's just gruel.
Gruul. There's
like
two
with
U's.
the elongated U.
Yeah, Gruul. Okay, and then Selesnya, where there's that Slavic influence coming in there, and this is due to the fact that these guilds control more wide open spaces, specifically, quote, rubble belts and plazas, end quote. They also favor these guilds for their traditional values, and they like the tradition of keeping alive the legends of ancestral heroes, which very cool. Love that. Love the idea of, centaurs telling stories about heroes from bygone ages around a fire. That's great. Now, Ravnica centaurs have an interesting naming convention, often naming newborn foals after a recently deceased family member of the same gender in order to keep their memory alive. which, it's cool. It's like, they never died. The name lives on with this new family
Mhm.
member. They also don't have family names and will often use symbols from nature to represent their family. It does say that centaurs in Ravnica are said to age at the same rate as humans. When we get to the nitty gritty here, the PC stats for the centaur have their primary stat increase as strength, which gets a +2, and then a secondary stat, which is wisdom, which gets a +1. They can also gain proficiency in one skill, choosing from animal handling, survival, nature, or medicine. Makes sense, very thematic. And then, of course, player centaurs also have a charge attack and a hoof attack. All good stuff.
Yeah, pretty standard stat block. I like that they don't make a big deal out of um just making it unique without making it difficult to use, I should
Yeah,
say.
yeah, absolutely. So then, moving on, we also see another option for player character centaurs in the supplement Mythic Odysseys of Theros, which is a supplement for the Theros setting. Now, Theros is a world of myth and legend where epic heroes try to prove themselves to the gods of the setting by undertaking great tasks and slaying powerful monsters. You might say to
Ooh.
yourself, well, that sounds kind of similar to Forgotten Realms. Well, hold on. Fate and destiny are ever present themes to the denizens of Theros as they try to carry out their predetermined tasks or struggle against the path that was laid out for them.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, right? So kind of think like the mythology of ancient Greece, but just like wizardsify it.
It reminds me of that new Netflix show Chaos, with Jeff
Yeah.
Goldblum. It retells one of the epics. I don't remember which epic it was. But yeah, all the characters are trying to like fight against their like predetermined fate. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, which is really cool, and that's one thing they kind of sprinkle in there too. When the guide is talking about creating your character, right? Are they
Mhm.
trying to live up to their expectations of being, like a great oracle or a great hero or something, or were they destined to a life of mediocrity or maybe wickedness, and now they're trying to struggle against it?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, which I think is really cool.
That just makes it so much easier for DMs. It's just like, all right, which path you take in, then
Yeah.
we can just mess with that behind the screen.
Yes, the fates, they are me. I am the fates. It is I who share eye and tooth and ear.
Get my scissors.
Yeah. Yeah, where
Piss
am I?
me off, get my scissors.
That's right. So you have your players like roll and you just take out a big set of shears. Oh no, what does that mean? Um Now, centaurs in this setting are described as being powerful combatants who have vast knowledge about the wider world outside of the main human settlements, which are called poleis. Basically, like the wide world is dangerous. Lots of monsters or really tough, humanoid adjacent type peoples live there, but humans for the most part live in these three main human settlements.
Mm.
Now, the centaurs of this setting are they're divided into two different groups. There is the Lagana band, who are primarily merchants and travelers, and then the fairies band, who are hunters and raiders. Centaurs in this setting are inclined more towards neutrality instead of being good or evil. Lagana centaurs tend to be more lawful, and then fairies centaurs tend to be more chaotic. Um, Now, before we get more into the lore here, Jade, we have to address the artwork.
Once again, folks, they just fuck with the face.
It's which like it's really unfortunate because they lean into like, the Greco-Roman inspiration, right? You have
Mm.
this really cool kind of like scaling type armor. Which the name for that in the Roman is escaping me, but it's cool, right? The Lagana have these nice kind of like flowing like robe, like toga type things. It looks great, but Jade, what the hell is going on with their faces?
I don't understand. Like in her hair too. I'm like her hair is crazy. Her nose is just I don't know. So she's looking like face on to us, so I
Yeah.
can't tell if her nose is like smushed in, or maybe it's just her eyes are too wide set apart. But I was just like, and the horse half too looks tiny, and
Yeah.
the tail looks odd. I don't know what's going on with this
It's
artwork.
it like the first time I looked at it, I was like, is this like the middle of an anamorph transformation? Like what's happening here? It's
It does look like the middle stage.
yeah, it's like they went like human to horse and they just stopped halfway through. Like the eyes are just a bit too far apart, right? The brow and the nose
Yeah,
are partially
yeah.
merged.
It's
Um
like her nose, her like snout is coming in, but then stopped. No, you're right.
yeah, which like I get what they're trying to do because the whole point here is that centaurs, while they, collaborate with humans, as we'll talk about here in a second, they are very much a different thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is cool, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but like you couldn't have made them look like cool? Like
It's I hate it because you just said, like they're trying to establish they're different from humans. I'm like, doesn't the horse half do that for us?
yeah.
Like, you really have to fuck with the the human half.
Yeah.
Like, the horse half definitely distinguishes it from being human.
Yeah, if I would rather see something where it's like the aspects, are at least of the humanoid half are what's the word I'm looking for? Not extended, but exaggerated, right? But in a way that makes them look like ethereal, right? Or something that makes them look like, "Oh wow, that's like I can see how you're like part human, but also you're kind of something more and it's a little scary, but like in a beautiful way." But that's just me. Um
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I think they should just keep it human-like on the top and horse-like on the bottom, and
Mhm.
it's still its own thing as we established, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. They're pretty fucked up looking. I give them like a 4. They're not that hot.
Yeah, yeah.
Now similar to the centaurs in the Dragonlance setting, these two different groups have physical differences that reflect their natures. So Laganaban centaurs tend to be sleek and muscular with powerful legs built for endurance rather than speed.
Mm,
Um, Their coats tend to be a single color, often with a shine that can look metallic in bright light, right? Very eye catching. Now, Lagana centaurs travel in small merchant family bands called guri. And these move between the main poleis, the human settlements, to trade. Um,
okay.
yeah, each guros, that's the singular. we're getting Greek-ish, Greek inspired. Each guros is typically led by the eldest member of each family. Now, most of the centaurs in Aguros work as traders, gatherers, packers, and scouts, but there are also a few specialized roles that are filled by centaurs with specific and valuable skills. And these are the barterer, the omener, the courser, and the coletra. Um,
Okay.
yeah, now as you would expect, a barterer negotiates deals between the Guros and then other traders. Makes sense with a name like the barterer. But in terms of those valuable skills, they must know customs from all the other cultures that they would be trading with and speak several languages. So, you cannot be dumb and be a barterer. You
That's
can.
pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
like that.
Now, the Omener is an oracle who reads messages from the gods in the mortal world. Once again, we're very heavy Greek mythology inspired here. So a theme throughout is that the gods not only are signaling to the mortals what they want, but also actively interfere in the mortal world.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and then they read these messages and then are supposed to reveal how the immortals would have the Goros travel. So, an Omener is part diviner and part navigator. Which is important because they communicate with the coursers, which are a throwback to 3.5 edition. I see you, wizards. I see you. Now, coursers are the expert trackers and navigators whose job it is to explore new trade territory for their Guros.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
seeking out new trade routes, figuring out what are going to be the safest and fastest ways, and then also where all the monsters are. Don't go there. Um, which, speaking of monsters, when we have to deal with monsters, that's where the Coletra come in, because they are the mighty, well-trained warriors who are said to have the blood of the first legendary centaur heroes still running through their veins. Now they are
Ooh,
said,
okay. Are they
yeah,
gonna bring back oh, what was his name? The Greek centaur.
oh,
Chiron.
yeah,
Chiron. Are they
Chiron,
gonna bring
yeah,
him
yeah,
back?
yeah. I know. I want to know what the Chiron analog is in this setting because I guarantee it's
Yeah.
in there. Now, because right, they are descendants of these legendary centaur heroes, they are said to bring good luck to their band. But in a twist of fate, they are usually fated to die in defense of their family. Sad, but
Mm,
thematically appropriate.
yeah.
A detail that I thought was kind of cool in this passage is it says that the Guri share their best warriors with other families because not every Guros has a Koletra. This is done as a sign of goodwill and then to strengthen the bonds that they have with each other, right? There is this idea that even though the Lagana travel in different bands, they are, of course, still one family of centaurs, which
Hmm.
is super cool.
Yeah,
Um,
that kind of reminds me of the learned ones from I think it was second edition, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah.
the learned ones go to different tribes and help them out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's a throwback there. I don't know
Yeah.
if there's any game designers out there who know. Let us know um, on our Patreon. So the lore passage also states that young Lagana centaurs leave their families to embark on a journey of self-discovery called a protopros, which they do once they become adults. Now, keeping in line with the Greek-inspired theme of this setting, an omener reads the signs of fortune before the young centaur departs to guide the first steps of their journey. Which,
This is just taken straight from Greek mythology. It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
even
yeah.
inspired. It was is I'm pretty sure protopros is a word they use a lot in Greek myths.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? That's cool. Actually, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Shouts out to any Greek listeners out there or appreciators of Greek mythology. Which the passage also does state that if you are making a centaur player character, then you could very well have just left on your protopros. Ooh.
That's true.
So
Yeah, this module seems to make it real easy to make a backstory.
yeah, oh, absolutely. They basically just kind of feed it to you, and you know what?
Yeah.
I respect it.
Mm.
So then on the other half of centaurs in this setting, we have the Spheres band centaurs. Now they are described as having long, nimble legs and lean bodies. They are often marked with natural color patterns on their hides. Um,
My Little Pony much?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes, but also it gets kind of metal because then it says that the Spheres centaurs sometimes paint or tattoo their upper bodies to match the patterns on their lower half.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that's kinda
yeah.
cool.
It's My Little Pony for grown-ups.
Don't tell that to the bronies.
That's right. Yeah, the bronies have just become bros. Um, so the passage also states that fairies, centaurs can sometimes be born with vertical stripes on their hooves, which, according to legend, means that they are destined for an exciting and adventurous life.
Ooh,
Ooh.
okay. Thematic. I like it.
Fate, destiny, all that. Now, fairy centaurs form into herds voluntarily. Okay, now this is different than
Mm.
the Lagana band, which they, of course, travel in family groups that are, based along familial ties. So sometimes, because this is all voluntary, several bands will join together to take down a particularly dangerous or resource-rich target, or sometimes to defeat common enemies who they all have a grudge against, or to engage in the hunt.
Mm.
Yes.
All right, this is definitely a throwback to those desert centaurs. That's
100%.
exactly what they did. Or no, it
100%.
was I think it was the horde centaurs.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
the nomad center. Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
100%. Which once again, I respect it.
Mhm, mhm.
Now, the fairies value physical strength, speed, and prowess in hunting in combat. Once again, that's different from the Lagana, who are, traders and diplomats. The fairies are like, no. Are you strong, fast? Can you hunt? Great. In a throwback to one of the centaur types from 4th edition, bands are often led by the strongest and most powerful warrior among them, called the Charger.
Ooh, okay.
Not a Fey Charger, but the Charger. But it says they can also be led by a tactician or strategist. Now, the passage says while fairy centaurs can be brutal and greedy. They are much more than just dumb brutes. Breaking from the kind of stereotypical centaurs that we've seen in the actual Greek mythology, they are clever. They understand the value of strategic leadership. So while they have like that kind of animalistic strength, they are not by any means animalistic. They are
I like that.
refined.
Yeah, I like that a lot more because there can't just be like one centaur who's a smart one. Like there has to be a good mix, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, and it's one of those things where the fairy centaurs can be bad news, but that doesn't mean they have to be.
Yeah.
You can definitely, depending on how nice you are and how well you roll, you can definitely parlay successfully with a fairy centaur band without having any issues. Um,
Mm, mm.
provided you give the proper respect, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Um, now, most members of fairy centaur herds work as scouts, archers, warriors, and foragers, but they do have two specialized roles, and these are the collar and the tromper. Now, fairies'
Trumper.
collars, yeah, the tromper. It's not silly. It sounds silly, but it's not. Fairies' collars are druids and rangers who draw animals to assist the herd. They call the animals. Ha 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 ha
Mm.
ha. Yeah, and I thought this was like obviously like this can be cool, but this can also be kind of cute. The passage says that they typically have one or more animal allies at their side at all times, which I'm just thinking
Aw.
like, oh, they've got like a squirrel or a bird on their shoulder, and there's like a lion over here. But like, look at the cute little woodland
Wait, I'm
creature.
sorry, what they get lions.
It does not say, it doesn't limit like what kind of animal companions.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
I think the assumption here is that especially in times where bands are getting together to take down a big foe, I imagine they're probably calling some like strong, cunning, and or dangerous animals to help them out.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. That's just my
I'm just picturing like Cersei, but as a centaur.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's like an elephant there randomly. Yeah. Now, trompers are the most powerful and feared warriors of their herd, which silly name, but they are bad news.
Mm.
Now, according to legend, fairies trompers taught the first humans how to corner and kill their prey. So
Okay.
yeah, I like this because one, like that's a fun story, but two, it gives an idea of how old centaurs are in the setting compared to humans. They're like, yeah, man, I was kicking up dirt and killing things when you were first formed out of the red clay from the river by the gods. So shut up.
Do you
um,
know if the centaurs have like a similar origin story where they're just like created from the gods, or is it
that I
they're just there?
Yeah, I don't know,
Mm.
because I did not see that in the part of the lore that I read. But I imagine that they have epics that tell the tale, because in this setting, that's kind of part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now the legend continues that because trompers taught the first humans how to hunt, basically, that humans now owe centaurs a portion of whatever they catch to repay this debt.
Hmm.
Now, the passage continues. While humans don't recall this arrangement, the fairies often use this as justification for their raids against smaller human settlements and caravans.
That seems a little convenient.
It's like, by the way, you owe us. I'm sorry, what? I don't even know you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hand over the meat.
Oh, that again, another throwback to the centaurs who like liberated the domesticated animals and
Yep,
then killed
yep, exactly. What are you doing here? Put the fries in the bag, little man.
them. You owe us.
You owe
I
us.
don't know who you are.
I don't even know who you are. Yes, and for me, it was a Tuesday. Um, now, it also says in the lore that there are also fairies who don't live their lives among their kin. Now, these are referred to as fairies renegades. Ooh. And it says they leave their herds for a variety of reasons, ranging from insatiable wanderlust to the realization that they are, in fact, a pacifist. Wait a second. I don't like fighting. I want to be a dentist. Now stories tell of fairies renegades returning to help their band in times of great need. And then, of course, once the foe has been vanquished, the threat has been taken care of, they will then disappear off on their own again. There seems to be an insinuation that there are some, very high profile, very cool fairies renegades out there. And maybe one of them is your player character. Oh!
Ooh.
Now, speaking of, a player character centaur gains a +2 to their strength score, as well as a +1 to their wisdom score. This has been standard for a couple editions now. Has a base walking speed of 40 feet and is considered fey rather than humanoid. They
There we
brought it
go.
back.
Going back.
Love
going
that.
back.
It states that centaurs stand between 6 and 7 feet tall. Makes sense. Their equine lower halves are usually about 4 feet wide. Very importantly, the player character centaur is size medium and stays medium. They do not graduate.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't graduate to being large like in some previous editions. This is a very important change mechanically, because there were issues in previous editions, where, if you're going through a dungeon or you're just trying to go through a doorway or a hallway or a corridor, you would have to squeeze, which like limits your movement, blocks up the whole place. So this was a design that was implemented to save all of those poor DMs out there from the headache of having to do extra math.
We appreciate it, because honestly, doing math as a DM sucks. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Now, to make up for this, PEC centaurs get the equine build trait, which counts them as one size larger when determining carrying capacity and the amount of weight they can drag or carry. Yes, right? So you're large, you just don't take up a large space. It's very convenient. Now, this trait it still carries a penalty. This makes it harder for the player to make any climb that requires hands and feet, right? Because you have hooves and 4 of them.
You can't boulder skate it where everyone can climb a ladder.
That's right. Yeah. So, mechanically, this translates to when you're trying to, climb a ladder or something where you need to do handholds, footholds. Each foot of movement now costs 4 feet of movement instead.
Is that a joke?
Yeah.
That's a pun right there.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well done, designers. Now, player centaurs, they get their charge ability, once again, which allows them to make a bonus action attack with their hooves if they move at least 30 feet towards a target and hit it with a melee attack. This sounds great, right?
But?
Yeah, but...
You're gonna butt me?
I'm about to butt you. Here's the letdown. The hooves attack only deals 1d4 plus strength damage.
Oh, boo. Boo.
Yeah.
You're gonna take that away from us?
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Especially when, the creature centaurs do 2d6 plus strength.
Yeah, that's not fair at all.
Yeah, that sucks. Now, that being said, this does get rectified when the player centaur option gets its update in Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse, which beefs up this hoof attack to being 1d6 plus strength.
All right, that's better.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah. This puts it rightfully so on par with the Tabaxi's Claws or Lizardfoot's Jaws. I'm just echoing what I've seen in many player forums and message boards where they're like, okay, well, if it's gonna be a natural attack, right, that is part of my body, either make it a 1d6 or don't give it to me, because 1d4 is just insulting. I can do that damage with a table leg.
Yeah, if you can just get an improvised weapon and do that doesn't make any sense to give it to them at all.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys, last but not least, we arrive at the current year with the latest 2025 Monster Manual.
Yes.
No more speculation, folks. We have the manual in our hands, and we will depart its wisdom unto you. And that being said,
wisdom, you say?
5.5 or 1 D&D, as they like to be called.
5.5.
But yeah, we're gonna say 5.5. 5.5 centaurs are meh.
Eh.
So for one thing, we continue with the artwork. Just we just continue with the artwork, making the centaurs' faces fucked up. They
Yeah,
just love fucking with the
they
nose.
do.
I just don't understand it. While everything else stays the same, the nose. Just make it a human.
Yeah, it while not as egregious as
Yes.
whatever they were doing in Theros, this is not great. It's not great. Jayde, why is it
Yeah.
not great?
At least compared to the 2014 Monster Manual Centaurs, at least these ones have a nose.
They do have a nose. We're no longer Voldemorting, but
And they're not ugly, like the Theros one.
no.
But again, they're still kind of odd looking. It's very elongated
Mm-hmm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a kind of Picasso painting or like a ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic kind of painting.
Yeah.
Um,
Which it's
yeah.
baffling to me because their bodies are beautifully drawn.
Mhm.
We've got, I mean, you can see like the detail of the sinews of the muscles of the male centaur, the female centaur. Her hair looks great. The detail on her armor looks fantastic. We've got variations in what do you call that? The hair of the horse hair, right? The horsehair half
I always
variations.
want to call it fur, but I know it's not fur.
Yeah. I do too, but it's like, nah, it's not right. But yeah, the horse half, right? The colorings are different. The hair looks and facial hair because one of these the guy
and
has a
and
beard.
skin and skin color variations,
It
all of
it
that, like
looks great, but
they have the pointed ears, all
yeah,
of that, but it's just the nose. I'm like, can we just leave it?
yeah, and it's they're not as ugly as some of the previous editions, but like they're just not hot.
I don't know. I don't know. They're still the female centaur is still pretty hot. Just
I
saying.
would say she's very elegant. I don't know that I'd say she's hot.
Yes, elegant. Yeah, she's scary. She's got very cool features. I
Mm-hmm.
like the nose on her,
Mm-hmm.
but on the male centaur, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, it almost looks like if like you're running like a 2070, right, graphics card when you really need to be running like a 3080 at minimum, and it's trying to
Mhm.
render the cutscene. That's how this poor guy's face looks.
Yes. It does.
You're like, my shaders are fighting for their fucking life, man. That's this poor guy's face.
My shader.
My shaders. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say for in terms of like just like the scene, I'd say the artwork is a 9 out of 10. In terms of them being
Yes.
hot, I'm sorry, you both get 5s.
I'll be more generous, give them a 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think a 6 is good for them.
Yeah, it's nice of you.
But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe future modules with centaurs will look a little better.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, especially looking at some of the other kind of like bestial half fused to a human half artwork that is in this book. There are
Mhm.
definitely some other ones that look really good.
Yeah.
So I'm a little disappointed, but at least it's not AI. So I'll take it.
We hope.
We hope. Yeah.
Um, but the artwork is good, but as for the lore, I am angry, Andy. I
tell
am
me,
angry.
Jayde. Tell me of your anger.
The lore passage, we're not even kidding you, is literally 4 sentences long.
Oof. Oh.
4.
Oh.
Two of the sentences are for the overall lore for centaurs, and then 1 sentence each for the 2 different centaurs. With 5.5 is kind of going back to 4E with
Mm-hmm.
multiple stat blocks for
Mm-hmm.
each monster, which is fine and all, but oh man, and I understand wanting to fit a lot of monsters into one book,
Mm-hmm.
which this book does succeed at. It's boasting more than 500 stat blocks in the entire thing.
Whew, I mean, which is impressive. That's a lot.
Yes, but for me personally, when it comes at the expense of the lore building, that's when you just lose me.
Yeah.
I'm like over it.
Yeah. No, I agree with
Which
that.
4E did the same thing. It had a lot of stat blocks, but it still came with the lore. And now, granted, whether or not that lore was good, varies between monster as we've talked about. But
Mhm. Mhm.
but it still had more than 4 sentences.
Yeah. Ugh.
Ugh, and
Not great.
just listen to the lore as well. It's since it's only a few sentences, we can tell you the lore verbatim from the monster manual,
Mhm. Mhm.
which for centaurs goes like this, quote, centaurs are defenders of forests, plains, and sites of primeval power. With upper bodies like humans and the lower bodies of horses, centaurs charge into battle against those who would harm their allies. End quote.
Eh,
Boring.
yeah.
Nothing new, nothing interesting, nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm glad they continue to keep the centaur categorized as fey creatures, but that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
They're just defenders of the forest, charge into battle. Like we've
Yeah.
heard this already. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
It's almost like a reduction, right? We got all this all this cool lore expansion. It's like, haha, just kidding. They're simple again.
Ugh.
Ugh.
And I mean, I'm not asking for a complete overhaul
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
all the monsters in every edition of D&D. I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for a good, robust lore that maybe has some unique changes
Mhm.
or is just updated in its wording so that it's more dynamic.
Yeah.
Um, which third edition usually did a good job of, but for Centaurs didn't, in my opinion. But it just more dynamic wording, to fit into the lore of the Forgotten Realms or whatever world they're in.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with doing a callback to older lore, right? As we talked about
Yeah.
in the 5th edition section, they did a really great job of that. We're like, hey, you remember the Charger? Hey, you remember the Courser? Oh yeah. Oh, you don't remember? Well, let me tell you. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like the genericification. I don't know. That's not a word, but it is now.
Gentrification of my
Gentrifi-
lore.
Are you gentrifying my lore? Yeah, but where it's just because there's such iconic creatures, which is
Yes.
why we've now made a third whole episode about these guys. It's just to reduce them to 4 lines of text. I don't know.
Yeah.
Makes me a little sad.
And on top of that, we don't even get interesting stat blocks like we did in 4E.
Mm-hmm.
In this monster manual, we get 2 different types of centaurs, the centaur warden and the centaur trooper,
Mm-hmm.
which are essentially just a centaur druid and a regular centaur. The centaur wardens, here, I'll read you their one sentence they get.
Yeah.
Uh,
Jeez.
Centaur wardens will, quote, often lead groups of centaur troopers and act as intermediaries between fey creatures and trespassers into their territories, end quote. And centaur troopers are, quote, night-like guardians. Many are suspicious of non-fey creatures, end quote.
Oh.
That's it. That's it.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, they do bring in the Fae a little bit more than they did in 5th edition
Mhm.
here. But other than that, it's like they are knights in the Fae and some of them are druids. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, cool, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, and I understand what maybe I'm speculating here. I understand what they're going for because 5th
Mhm.
edition with the Wild Beyond the Witchlight got a lot of Feywild centered lore and focus and stuff like that. So maybe
Mhm.
there is the assumption that your players are now more familiar with the Feywild and Fey creatures, and stuff from that setting.
Fair.
But what if
Yeah.
they're not?
Mm.
What if they haven't played that module? You know what I mean? So, and once again, we don't have to rehash and relitigate all of the lore from previous editions, but having more of a summary, I think would be better than what we get here. What we get here, in my opinion, is extremely lame. As a DM, I would personally just refer to previous lore to make them at
Yeah.
least somewhat interesting, right? Which kind of stinks because you have to do more homework. That being said, DMs out there, do your homework.
You do
Just
your
do it.
homework.
It'll make
That's
you
for
better.
sure.
Yeah, it'll make
I
you
don't know.
better.
I just think that's the point of, the three core supplements is that they're supposed to give the summary, and then all the modules can give all the extra stat blocks that we
Mhm.
want.
Mhm.
That's the whole point. But they're doing it. I don't know if they're gonna do it backwards, where now when other supplements come out, it's gonna give more lore.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely giving 4E, which I don't know. We'll see where it goes with wizards being the way they are now.
Yeah, yeah, with wizards being wizards, don't sing this, don't send Pinkertons after us. But wizards being wizards, yeah. Yeah.
All I'm saying is 4E, I have a new enemy, and it is 5.5 edition.
4E, you get a pass.
You especially for centaurs, 4E, you get a pass, and I am
100%.
saying that wholeheartedly.
100%. Oh, well, there you have it, folks. Starting from their roots in Greek mythology, centaurs have evolved from being hippies who live in the forest and glades to continent wandering nomads who are, well, still hippies, but who are now fully fey creatures with a lot more kick to them in combat. Now, while the newest version of Centaur lore is pretty lackluster, there is a rich and well fleshed out history throughout the editions that DMs out there can draw from to make their centaurs interesting, intelligent creatures that are more than just a bland random encounter to throw at your players.
Yeah, I highly recommend either, doing the idea with the angry centaurs yelling at villagers who just started living there, within the path, like we did in 5e, or I definitely love the Theros centaurs as well. I think those ones are the best 5th edition iteration.
Yeah, 100%.
Um but even if you want to go back to 4th edition, I would recommend that as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's important to remember, right? Obviously, as DMs, we try to use the established lore, but like your home game is your home game, you know?
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah, do whatever you want, and if your players like what you're doing, do it more.
Yeah.
Hopefully, our listeners have found something between these episodes that you can use for your home games, whether that is for a player character, an NPC, or a random encounter. Now that we have finished the lore section, I would like for you to picture this. The thick canopy of trees overhead made the night feel heavier than usual. Save for a few glimpses of moonlight that peeked through the leaves and branches, the forest was dark. The only thing that interrupted the stillness was the sound of the group's footsteps as they carefully made their way through the woods. After walking for some time, the adventurers noticed the gloom around them slowly giving way to a soft glow. Ahead of them, Trina could see floating orbs of iridescent light. As the shadows retreated from her face, the halfling couldn't help but break out into a wide grin. Finally, after weeks of busting our arses, we can have a bit of fun. This welcomed recess had happened entirely by accident. They had heard a scream during a routine guard detail for a fabric merchant. Following the cry for help to its source, the adventurers had found a purple-skinned elf being set upon by a small raiding party of goblin riders, waving their spears menacingly as they sat atop their warg mounts. After the greenskins and wargs had been taken care of, the elf, who identified herself as Holy Ifu, offered her saviors her thanks and a small purse of coins. To the rest of the party's dismay, Ukushaza had politely declined the reward, citing his satisfaction as a shepherd of nature and knowing that he had helped one of the forest folk as payment enough. Upon learning that the turtle was a fellow druid, the elf invited them all to a festival celebrating Sinelos Kor that would be held deep inside of a forest glade. Ah, shield meat! Sprezio exclaimed. Hard to believe it's almost been 4 years since the last one. You mean Boone's Day? The day after Midsummer? I remember celebrating with my folks back at our village. Partially remember, anyway. Had quite a bit of ale that night, Trina said, with a giggle. As the cluster of trees suddenly opened up, Trina was struck by just how much space there was in this clearing. What was more was the number of creatures who were milling about in it. Elves wearing subtle, yet beautiful tunics and cloaks that seemed to flow and flutter like falling leaves in a nighttime breeze. A few scattered humans and halflings, looking as out of place as her own companions. Assorted woodland creatures that scurried across branches in the forest floor, seemingly unbothered by the activity around them. Or, perhaps, drawn to it? Ukushaza smiled and raised a hand. Trina turned and saw Holy Ifu striding towards them, a soft smile adorning her face. She and Ukushaza joined hands and bowed their heads slightly.
Ravan Raventhas,
The elf said. Sister and friend of the forest, Ukushaza replied. Holy Ifu raised her head.
I'm happy you could make it.
She said.
This night is always an unforgettable one.
The sound of low horns blared from the woods just beyond the edge of the glade. A creature with the torso of a well-muscled man and the body and legs of a large horse emerged from the trees. As he trotted forward, blowing another long blast from the curved ram's horn he held to his lips, a group of similar creatures followed behind him. Look at all those centaurs, Sprezio said. Look at all those muscles, Britomar remarked, her mouth slightly agape.
The guests of honor have arrived,
Their elf companion replied, excitedly clasping her hands together. I thought we were supposed to be the guests of honor, Trina whispered to Ukushaza. The wizened turtle patted her head and chuckled. Even the most familiar stars sometimes form shapes we don't expect, little one. Trina frowned in confusion as she quickly untussled her hair. As the centaurs stopped in the center of the clearing, one strode out beyond the others. His features were much more hard-worn than the rest, and his silver hair was pulled back in a long and dignified braid. Most of his upper body was covered by a cloak that was embossed with motifs of glittering constellations.
That's the tribe's star seer. My Sylvan pronunciation is, well, not the best, but in our tongue, his name means gazes to the heavens.
Holy Ifu said.
He reads the omens and signs from the night sky and interprets them for guidance. A great honor, as many centaurs don't reach old age. Not alongside the rest of their tribe, anyway.
Another elf walked out to meet the elder centaur, her steps long and light, yet elegantly unhurried. Though her countenance was far from elderly, her eyes were filled with the wisdom of centuries. Her flowing white hair almost seemed to shine as it reflected the light from the heavens and from around the glade.
Ivelath, Aravan Amathiel,
Holy Ifu said reverently. As the white-haired elf approached, the silver-maned centaur stooped to a knee in a low bow. The elf stopped walking and returned the gesture. After a moment, they both looked up at each other, broad smiles spreading across their faces. The centaur opened his arms wide as the elf walked to him and met his embrace.
The relationship between our clan and the Stormhoof tribe goes back decades.
Holy Ifu explained.
Those two have been friends for ages.
Iveloth turned to address the people gathered in the clearing, a stream of strong, clear Elvish flying from her lips.
Our honored guests, the Stormhoofs, have arrived.
Holy Ifu translated.
To honor Corlon Laurenthian and Solanor Thalendira, let our celebration begin.
The air filled with joyous sound as the gathered elves and centaurs erupted into cheers. The energy of the glade changed in an instant as the quiet hum of anticipation swelled to an electric buzz of excitement. People laid out blankets on the forest floor, producing refreshments from sacks and bags that were passed between gathered friends and family. The sound of music and laughter rose through the glade. Come on, you mutton heads, let's get a spot, Trina said excitedly. Yes, it would be rude not to take part in such a joyous gathering, Ukushaza replied, with a nod. Hey, big sis, do you mind giving us a lift? Britomar responded with an amused snort as she easily lifted the halfling onto her shoulder. Why don't you spy us some booze while you're up there?
No need to search. You are guests. Follow me.
Holiifu said, as she began nimbly making her way through the clusters of people. She led them to a large cart that held 3 massive oaken barrels attended by a dwarf. His shaggy mane was so long that Trina couldn't tell where the hair ended and the beard began. It suddenly dawned on the halfling that this was the only dwarf she had seen all evening. As each adventurer produced their tankard or drinking horn, the dwarf wordlessly took them and filled them from a tap on one of the barrels. The whole time he hummed and chuckled to himself, responding only with a nod when they had all been served. Trina took a sip and was immediately filled with a warmth that spread lazily through her body. What was this stuff? She wondered. It tasted like a sweet fruit wine, but had the fizzy body of an ale. Trina took another sip. Whatever it was one of the best things she had ever tasted. As the group walked through the throngs of elves, centaurs, and other assorted guests, the sound of hammers striking against wood mixed with the din of music and voices. Where's that coming from, Trina? I'm having a bit of trouble seeing anything outside of our immediate vicinity, Sprezio said, trying to peer around a group of centaurs that were walking in front of them. From her vantage point on Britomar's shoulders, Trina could see a small group of elves pounding large wooden stakes into the ground. Ropes were being suspended between them and secured to each stake, forming a large square. They're building a fighting ring.
Of sorts.
Their elf companion replied.
The ring is for bouts of strength, which will be starting soon. No weapons, no magic, just one creature testing their might against another. Though anyone is welcome to enter, the victor is normally a Stormhoof.
Strength, you say? Britomar said. Can't say I've ever had the chance to knock a horseman on his arse before. Trina steadied herself as her friend rolled her shoulders in anticipation.
Well then, go enter. You 3 go on ahead. I'd like to borrow your companion to secure a spot before all the best ones are taken.
Ukushaza agreed with a nod, motioning his companions onward. Once explained, the rules for the bouts were simple. A competitor loses when they are forced from the ring, or their back hits the ground. Striking opponents was against the rules, but any type of grapple or hold was permissible. Bouts went by relatively quickly. Centaurs slammed into and pinned each other. Elves employed complex and acrobatic holds that worked well against their 2-legged opponents, but proved ineffective against their powerful, equine-bodied foes. One particularly unlucky elf was hurled from the ring, which was met with cries from the crowd that turned to cheers when he indicated he was okay with a shaky thumbs up. Britomar grinned and gave the elf a wink as she was named the victor of that round. The final 2 competitors stood facing each other, a male centaur with a heavily scarred torso and a large mountain of a human woman. Go get 'em, Fee! Trina cheered, raising her small fist in the air. The centaur extended a hand, speaking to Britomar in a language that seemed to flow together like a running stream, punctuated with syllables as crisp as an autumn breeze. Oi, mate, I've no idea what you're saying, Britomar said, shaking the outstretched hand. But believe me, when I say I'm looking forward to putting my hands on you. As the competitors backed apart, Britomar unbuttoned her tunic and threw it out of the ring, where it landed squarely on Sprezio's face. Bare from the waist up, save for wraps of fabric around her mid-chest, Britomar lightly swung her arms and flexed her muscular shoulders as a sly smile spread across her face. Her opponent struck at the ground with his hooves impatiently. 2 low drum beats sounded. The match was on. Centaur and human charged forward, catching the other's hands as they crashed together. For a moment, they were evenly matched, as one tried to unsuccessfully shove the other. Then the centaur took a step forward, then another. Trina watched as Britomar strained against her opponent. Her boots made shallow grooves in the ground as she was slowly pushed backwards. Come on, old girl, use that thick head of yours, Sprezio called out. Britomar continued to resist for a moment, then quickly let go of the centaur's hands. As he took a step forward to steady himself, the centaur's expression changed from one of confidence to one of shock, as his opponent ducked down and grabbed him by the leg. Britomar placed a foot behind the centaur's hoof, then growled as she twisted and lifted upwards. The centaur toppled over with a crash, landing squarely on his back. The crowd roared as Britomar raised her fists and gave a triumphant shout. 3 drum beats sounded out. The match was won. As Trina jumped to her feet and applauded, she caught Sprezio looking at Britomar with a strangely sentimental look on his face. "See something you like up there, Sprezio?" she asked. While she couldn't tell on account of his skin's red hue, Trina was almost certain that the tiefling was blushing. Britomar was awarded a fine yet sturdy cloak for her victory. The elven quality was evident. The deep forest green fabric was tightly woven, yet felt light in the hand when Trina examined it. "Gold would have been nice, but my cloak was getting a few too many knife holes in it," Britomar mused, fiddling with the clasp as the trio walked. When they found their way back to Ukushaza and Holy Ifu, Trina couldn't help but laugh at what she saw. The turtle was surrounded by a small gaggle of elf children and centaur foals. He was sporting a crown of woven flowers, and his shell was covered in brightly colored paintings of stars and the moon. "Oh, my young ones, people will think you stole the lights from the night sky and placed them on my back," Ukushaza said, which elicited a chorus of delighted giggles from the chattering children. "Druid, medicine man, Pied Piper, what can't you do, old friend?" Sprezio chuckled.
Okay, young ones. We've had our fun, but now you must go back to your families. Shan, Shan.
Holy Ifu said with a smile. As the children scurried away, the purple-skinned elf turned to the adventurers.
I knew you were a capable bunch, but I wasn't aware that the well of your skills ran so deep.
She said, looking at the victor's cloak that Britomar was wearing.
I assume one of you will be competing to honor the celebration of Solinar Thirandira. On this night, the master archer wants only the finest displays of marksmanship.
"Ooh, an archery contest," Trina cooed. "Count me in. I can knock an acorn out of a squirrel's mouth mid-leap. Without hurting the little nibbler, of course," she added, with a slight shrug. The fighting ring was quickly dismantled, the space reconfigured into an archery field. Targets were set up downrange at various intervals. Trina noticed that the targets farthest away were placed among the trees at the edge of the glade. The halfling took her place along the other challengers as the rules were proclaimed. Each competitor is allowed 2 shots per target. Only a hit to the center ring allows an archer to continue to the next round. Arrows would be provided to prevent any tricks or interference. Only bows were permitted. No crossbows allowed.
This is a test of skill, not a showcase for mechanical toys.
Holy Ifu translated, with a soft laugh. Trina rolled her eyes and accepted one of the provided short bows. As the halfling knocked one of the arrows from the quiver that was placed in front of her, she was impressed with how light it felt. She had to hand it to these elves. Their craftsmanship was flawless, even on such a simple thing as an arrow. Trina drew back the string of her bow and shot towards the target. Bullseye. As Trina expected, the fiercest competition came from the centaurs and elves. The grace of their draws was only surpassed by the pinpoint accuracy of their placement. But the halfling was able to match them shot for shot. Before Trina knew it, it was time for the last round of targets. She found herself in the final 3. Her remaining competitors were a beautiful female centaur with flowing brown hair tied back under an earth-colored scarf, and an elf with twisting vine tattoos that curled from his shoulder down to the wrist of his right arm. Trina focused on the target at the end of the range. She took a deep breath, drew back an arrow, then let it loose. Just then a slight breeze began to blow. The arrow sailed forward without an issue, but lodged itself in a limb that swayed lazily in the wind. A groan rose from the crowd. Trina's left eye twitched with frustration. Stay calm. You've got this, she thought to herself, regaining her composure. The halfling watched the limb for a moment, studying how it moved in the wind. She took another breath to steady her aim. Easy, easy, she thought, as she drew her second and final arrow. As the limb swayed out of the path between her and the target, Trina shot. The arrow flew forward perfectly, missing the limb and embedding itself in the third ring out from the center with a loud thud. Trina was furious. She felt her face get hot. Her eyes felt like they could pop right out of her head. She wanted to scream and break that stupid bow over her knee. Instead, all that came out was a slight, whoop! Bad luck, I guess. She tensed as she fought down the roar that was trying to escape from her chest. The tattooed elf was ultimately the victor, landing a perfectly placed shot to the center of the target that elicited an excited cheer from the crowd. He was awarded a beautifully crafted longbow that was carved with nature motifs interspersed with elven script. The female centaur was a close second, placing her arrow on the border between the center and first rings. She and Trina were each given a quiver of the same arrows that had been used in the competition. After receiving their awards, the centaur turned to the halfling and spoke to her in the same flowing language as her fellow tribemates. Sorry, what's that you said? She's complimenting you, replied the tattooed elf. Oh, well, that's very... Her exact words were, "A valiant effort, little one. It is a wonder that such a mighty spirit is able to fit inside such a small body." Trina ground her teeth together while keeping her face in a tense smile. That's very nice of you, she replied to the centaur, giving her a shallow, begrudging curtsy before quickly walking back to the party to drink her anger away. The rest of the night became a blur of music, dancing, laughter, and that strange but delicious ale, or wine, or whatever it was. The young halfling slowly forgot about her bitter defeat as she and the rest of the partygoers slowly wound down to rest. Later that night, Trina dreamed of being declared the best archer this side of Faerun, smiling and waving as she was lifted up by the cheering crowd. But suddenly, the hands loosened, and she tumbled hard to the ground. Trina was awoken by the feeling of the ground shuddering beneath her. There was a pause. Then it shuddered again. What the... she asked groggily. As the ground shook once more, the sound of horns blared. Shouts rose from the glade as the gathered guests grabbed for their weapons. Children and foals were quickly herded away into the trees. Rouse yourselves, my friends. I believe we are in danger. No sooner had the turtle finished speaking when a huge form crashed through the tree line. Clad only in a dirty loincloth, its tangled mess of hair blew back wildly as it bellowed in a harsh, grating language that shook the very ground beneath the halfling's feet. Trunks and limbs shattered and snapped as it took another step forward with a massive foot. Trina gasped, petrified. For a moment, she was aware of how very small she was in the shadow of this very big figure. It reached down and grabbed one of the large barrels from the ale cart. The huge creature raised the barrel to its mouth as casually as Trina would lift her tankard, guzzling it dry in seconds. It threw the empty barrel behind it into the trees as it reached down for another round. The massive brute quickly withdrew its hand with an angry bellow as a small storm of arrows flew into its palm. Groups of elves and centaurs formed into archer squads, preparing another volley. All of a sudden, they lowered their bows and hastily dispersed in various directions. A huge wooden club slammed into the ground where many of them had just been standing. As the gigantic brute raised its club to deal another blow, it reeled back as its chest was blasted with 3 bolts of fire. "That's your opening! Take it!" Sprezio shouted, his eyes still glowing red from channeling the weave. Britomar roared as she charged forward, swinging the Empress above her head. Ukushaza raised his gnarled staff towards the sky, which quickly filled with clouds. A bolt of lightning arced towards the imposing intruder, causing it to howl with pain. Trina knocked one of the elven arrows into her bow, drawing a bead on one of their towering foes' massive eyes as it regained its footing. As it raised its club for another swing, Trina sent an arrow whistling towards her target. Another howl shook the glade. Bullseye!
Thanks for joining us on Browsing the Bestiary. Be sure to subscribe for more episodes and check out our Patreon at Browsing the Bestiary, all one word.
There you can keep up to date on any new pod-related announcements, access reference pages for each episode, and download character sheets for characters featured in our story times. You can also comment on what you think the next monster will be, and if you get it right, you'll get inspiration.
And if you're something of a lore master yourself, you can offer us corrections for any facts we got wrong. If you catch something we missed, you may get a shout out in a future episode.
Remember to cite your sources.
I'm Dungeon Mistress Jayde.
And I'm Lore Master Andy.
Until next time, may your dice rolls be high.
And your adventurers ever prepared.
Oh! 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 All right, I think that's everything. If there's anything I missed, let me know. Over and out.